So this is what the enclosure is going to look like when it's closed. The outside temperature sensor is just there. GPS is right in the middle of the top, just behind the top panel. NRF24 is sticking out the side. I don't like that too much because it might catch on the string as it's falling. Down here we have the GSM antenna, so this is going to be the bottom. Okay, next morning now, and I'm doing the real fill using a bottle with just the right amount of water in it, and it's just off the ground there actually. Maybe you can see it's sort of floating a little bit, and now it's well, maybe you can get an idea from the chair there. Looks like it's about a meter radius diameter.
Oh well, that's going to do it. I hope. It'll be right, I think.
Alright, well it's 6 minutes past 5 and I'm ready to launch, and it looks like I made a rather substantial mistake about how light it was going to be at this time. Should have checked on that a bit more, but it's not far off, and it'll definitely be light by the time I go and find it. Anyway, so it's just sitting over here. You can barely see that, I suppose, on the camera, but it's up there, ready to go. A little bit of wind, well, not much really. Anyway, so it's probably 5:07 by now. Everything is looking good on here. For some reason the cell signal is actually being received there, just a meter or so off the ground, but that's nice to check that everything is ready to go. So just let it go, I suppose. Whee. It's going to disappear pretty quick from your view because the only reason you could see that at all just now was because I have my flashlight sitting on the ground pointing at it so that you could see it. But anyway, there it goes. Nice and calm, just about straight up. Wow. Alright, so I'll check what vertical velocity that is on here and plug that into my calculator, and oh no, 2 meters per second? It's only going up at 2 meters per second. Uh-oh. Oh dear. Oh no. I hope it goes up a bit faster than that later, but it probably won't, will it? Oh no. Oh, it's going to be way off. Shit. 2 meters per second versus 3.6. Okay, well, plug that into my calculator, I suppose, and just see what happens. But at that rate of climb, it's not going to burst until it's so far away that when it comes back down, it'll probably be right in the middle of those hills. So, yeah, we might have just lost it, I'm afraid. But anyway, we'll see what happens.
Hello, Future Chris here. So I quickly went back inside and plugged in the new ascent rate into the path predicting calculator, and this is a screenshot that I took of it there. Unfortunately, you can't retroactively do these like from a time in the past. You can only do it in the future. So this is the only screenshot I have that's kind of relevant to that time of the weather and everything. So I came up with this new burst point here, which was unfortunately kind of over the hills. But if it worked out like that, it would have still descended just not quite in the ocean. So that actually would have been quite nice, but I made a rather grave error when I did this calculation because I forgot to change the burst altitude. And of course, when you put in the wrong amount of gas, is what I was suspecting I might have done somehow, if you put in too little, the altitude is actually going to be higher when it bursts. So what I did not know from looking at this calculator was what the air direction and the air currents were going to be above my original planned height of 17,600.
There he goes. Nice and slow horizontal speed. That's good. What's not so good is that after about 5 minutes, it's not even at 600 meters of height. That is a real bad news. So I'm just hoping that this number is not correct. I mean, you know, not accurate. It is coming from the GPS, that one, not barometers. So it's going to be a lot less accurate than you would typically see on your ArduPilot height that's using a barometer and stuff. I guess one thing that's a little bit nice about having the slow ascent rate is I don't have to suddenly rush out and chase it. But I will be going in just a minute. I thought I'd just give you a look at this sensors screen here. You can see that the outside temperature is only half of the inside temperature already. And the NRF24 is still receiving quite well. You can see the latest time that's counting up there. That's showing when the last packet was received. So it's just a steady stream of packets. It's really good. Oh look, there's the altitude there. I forgot about that. So that's the barometer altitude, 741. Oh, it's about the same as the GPS altitude. Damn. Oh well. At least it's not going far away sideways. Okay, I'm just about to jump in my car, but I thought I might just show you what an outstanding job the little NRF24 module is doing, or the pair of them. So it's 2.6 k's away horizontally and 1800 meters up. And this isn't the Yagi or anything, this is just the where is it? Sorry, it's a bit dark here, but this is just the normal antenna like that's receiving, and it's just sitting here on the chair about 40 centimeters off the ground. It's not even really, you know, up in the air where you would put it to get a good reception. Oh, look at this, it's still going.
Okay, I'm just on the road now, and as you can see we're in some windy hills and everything. I have the antenna stuck on the car windscreen, and you would not believe how well the signal is being received. Horizontal distance 7,400 meters and vertical distance 3,900, so 7.5 kilometers sideways and 4 kilometers up, and we're still receiving, I'm not looking at the packets per second page, but it looks like it's receiving at least a handful of packets per second. Now let me just check that. Hold on. Packets per second. 23 packets per second. Yeah. 23 packets per second at, it's now 7.4 kilometers sideways and 4,000 meters up. Just with this little antenna. Incredible.
Okay, now I'm at a sort of a point where I have to make a decision which road over the hills I want to take. So I'm just sort of looking and seeing how well it's following the planned course, or seeing how far off my planned trajectory it is. Well, I'm not showing you that, but I'm just showing you the sensors here. So it's at almost minus 11, and altitude is 6.5 kilometers, just about, and 8.2 kilometers sideways, and we're still getting some packets, but less than 20 packets per second now. It's a little bit sporadic. Battery's doing fine. We're 55 minutes in the air and only 6.5, so oh boy, it's not even halfway. No, what's half of 17? 8.5, right? So it should be at this point almost 8.5 kilometers up. So it's, yeah, you can see how far behind it is from the schedule. So that's not good at all.
Wow, what a beautiful morning, look at this. So finally stopped receiving packets. The last packet received was at a relative height of 9,700 meters and horizontal distance of 16 kilometers. That was about 10 minutes ago, and at that time I was already way ahead of it, and the speed, it said the speed was about 50 kilometers per hour that it was moving, and I'm doing about twice that. So for a short while after that, I think I was still pulling ahead of it, but right now it should be in the very fast phase of its flight. Oh, look at the fog. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's actually like right about above where I am at the moment. So what I'll do is I'll stop soon and I'll swap this antenna from that little whip antenna, or whatever you call it, dipole, monopole, whatever it is, and I'll bring out the big guns there, the Yagi antenna, and see if I can pick up some more packets. I'd estimate it's probably about close to 13 kilometers up at the moment, but if we were able to pick it up at 10 kilometers with this, I'm sure the Yagi will be able to pick it up all the way to the end of the 17 kilometer flight. Okay, so this is Natia. I'm going to stop here and try the Yagi antenna now.
Okay, I'm trying to let you have a look at the screen there while I hold the antenna. It's a bit tricky. Alright, now if I hold it just here, occasionally we're getting up to about 50 something packets per second, 20 something, 46, and you can see the height. Hopefully you can read the height in the top right there is 13,700 meters or so. So my guess was pretty close, and it's still behind us, but the speed is about 20 meters per second, which is close to 70 kilometers per hour. So it's going to be going past us pretty soon, and if the burst calculator is correct, it still has another 3.5 kilometers vertical climb to go before it starts coming down. So I'll just wait here a little bit longer and just watch the map and everything. Oh, yeah, and I'm probably going to have to go over on the other side of the hills and just hope that it comes down there. But it's nice to know that even at this distance, this vertical distance, I can you read the temperature there? Minus 45 outside, minus 23 inside. Humidity, what the hell? Humidity is minus 2.74%. That's a problem. I mean, that must be a bug or something, I think. That doesn't seem right. Yeah, anyway, so that's the relative distances, 15 and 14. So both. Let's just have a look at the map. Sorry, I can't give you a much better angle while I'm trying to hold the antenna, but those should be moving a little bit if I can just hold the antenna right. Check this out. The balloon is passing overhead almost. It's 5 kilometers sideways and 16 kilometers up, and I'm back to using this antenna, and now that it's relatively closer, even at that altitude, I'm still getting some packets from that antenna. There you go, look, oops, 76 packets per second. That's pretty amazing. So I think I'll just go back to this antenna now.
Take the next left onto Bush Road.
So there's our cell tower where we were aiming for. So it's supposed to be landing just around here,
Bush Road for 6
and
kilometers.
you can see it's all flat and nice place to land here, but it's still 17 kilometers, so it must be just about done, and it's only 3 kilometers away. So if it falls very quickly, it might still fall on this side of those hills, which would be really nice. Wow, look at that. Oh, it's cool. It's kind of misty and cloudy and foggy and everything over there. Alright, well, I really didn't want to have to drive through this windy ass road here, but here I am. This little radio thing, it's incredible. It's not picking up very many packets coming through here. Obviously there's hills and everything which kind of don't really help that much, but every now and then it's getting a packet. The last packet was 15 seconds ago, probably while I was just talking actually, and the height is 19.68 kilometers. Yeah, in these like valleys, well, I guess it's mostly up, but even so, that's pretty incredible for this antenna, right? It's not the Yagi antenna or anything. This is great. So even if it goes into the ocean, which it's looking like it might do actually, although it has slowed down, it's only moving at 2.4 meters per second sideways now, but it's still going up. Interestingly, the speed of ascent has increased to 3 meters per second now, 2.9. So yeah, it looks like I really just somehow messed up the amount of gas that I put in, because not only did it rise too slow, but the burst height has gone, wow, over 2 kilometers higher than it should have at the moment. Oh wow, we've got lots of packets just then. So anyway, yeah, might have just sent this out to sea, but hopefully not. But anyway, with with this level of data coming in, I can still record onto the tablet most of the data that I want, I suppose. Especially if I stop somewhere and use the Yagi like I did before. It just means that I won't be able to get all of the data from the SD card.
Okay, as I was driving along, I noticed that I had not received a packet for about 6 or 7 minutes, so I pulled over and changed over to the Yagi antenna and managed to locate it, and last packet now was, well, just over 2 minutes ago. There you can see that. That's the age in seconds since the last packet received. And what's interesting, so the altitude now is 25, well, the altitude 2 minutes ago was 25.3 kilometers, climbing at almost 4 meters per second. What's interesting though is that it's going back the opposite direction from which we just came at a fairly slow speed of about 10 or 11 meters per second. So it hasn't actually reached the hills there. So the hills are this dark area with all the trees on them. It's still over the top of the flat farmland. This Ngatea place there was my original target, with the cell phone tower is there. So basically it seems like from the point that it went higher than my target height, it hasn't actually gone any further east. And I just assumed that it would, because I never ran any calculations above 18,000 meters, because I was never intending to go higher than that. But perhaps if I had, I would have noticed that the direction of the wind changes there, and basically it's not really going anywhere horizontally between 17 and 25 kilometers. So that's a really good thing. So it means that it's probably still going to land on dry land, but it's probably going to be over by this Whangamata place there, and I am on my way there. As you can see, that's me in the red, and that road, unfortunately you can't go straight through those hills in the center of the screen there. You have to go up and over here and then down again. So I think I'm probably in a fairly good spot. Maybe a little bit further to the coast would be good, but I'm just going to stay here and see if I can. I just want to see that it's popped, you know, because when it pops, then I'll have a better idea of where it's going to end up. So I'm just going to wait for it to burst, I think. Let's have a look at some of the stats, what we got there. Temperature's warmed up now, it's minus 25 and minus 15 or so inside. Altitude from the barometers is giving 22.1 kilometers versus what was it here? 25.3. Oh, it's quite a difference there, eh? Yeah, but the gravity vector is still one. Well, one. Hey, what? Oh, that's not meters per second squared, is it? That one means it's just natural gravity, so that should be 9.8 meters per second squared if it's natural gravity. I got that units a bit wrong there, but that means that it has not popped. That's what that means. And also this velocity down, so it's going at minus 3.8 meters per second down. In other words, it's going up. Anyway, so what else is there to look at here? It's about that far away, so the this antenna obviously not working at that distance, so that's why I was using the Yagi. Anyway, I'm just going to sit here and wait for it to pop and then maybe give you an update after that. Well, what do you know? It looks like while I was talking to you just then, it popped. So see, the last packet was received 20 seconds ago, and velocity down is now 23 meters per second. That's pretty fast. Still in the same place, pretty much. Man, I don't know where I should go to get this. 23 meters per second down. I hope that slows down pretty soon to show that the parachute's doing something. It's moving sideways a little bit. Yeah, look how much height it lost just in that 3 minutes while I was talking to you just now. From 25 kilometers it was before, and now it's 21. Let me see if I can point the antenna and get some signal, see an update maybe. There we go, 19.8 kilometers now, 19.76, 19.6 now. What's the speed? Still coming down pretty fast. Oh, whoops, holding it. You've got to hold it just right. There we go. Alright, but the position looks like it's going south. Oh no, it's going east-southeast, I think. Well, it looks like the parachute might not be working. Oh, it's slowing down now. Where should I go? Alright, well, I'll sit here for a little bit longer, just sort of seeing how much it slows down, because how much it slows down is important. If it can slow down to a sort of a speed that's less than 10, you know, somewhere around sort of 5 to 7 meters per second, then it might make it over to where I am, closer to here. But if the parachute's not opening properly and it just sticks at that speed, then I should just go back to where I was before there. Alright, so it's a few minutes later now and it's slowed down to 12 meters per second. It seems to be steadily slowing. Still can't really tell if that's the parachute or whether that's just how it would be even without the parachute working properly. And it's at 13,000 kilometers, so I'm just going to head over to the coast a little bit more. The direction that it's heading is pretty much due east, but it's supposed to swing north a little bit to be right about there. So that's where I'm going to go, and I hope that I see it again. Okay folks, I think this is the end of the road for this adventure. As far as I can tell, it is 8 kilometers straight over there by just about where that the tallest point on the hill there is. Just in line with my phone there, which is pointing that way. So let's have a look at this. I'm just looking at the last number from the cell phone module, received at 8:36. The height above sea level actually that's ellipsoid, but whatever. Height above ground, let's call it, was 550 meters. Signal quality was very good, 14. Satellites was very good, 21. Velocity down, 5.3 meters per second, so it did slow down to the expected value. Well, I was expecting 4.5, but you know, that's pretty close. And horizontal speed was 5.8 meters per second, so it was still being blown sideways by the wind. That's the location if anybody wants to try and find it. Now this height here, 553 meters, when I first saw that I thought, oh, it was still in the air, but I'm not so sure, because we look at this other tab. Oh, these numbers are invalid on this because it's only using the cell phone numbers. The relative height, this is comparing the two GPS altitudes, is actually saying it's below where I am here, so minus 60 meters. So maybe it did get almost to the ground. I don't know. But anyway, it's way in the middle of. Oh, let's see if we can. Oh god, it's hard to show anything on the screen here, but can you see that? So it's the blue. Wait a minute. We want to do nothing. So it's the blue dot there, and it doesn't show up very well on the screen, but this bit here seems to be cleared land, but where it's landed is right in the middle of all that forest, I think. Yeah, so anyway, I'm just going to forget about it. Most of the rest of it worked, apart from getting the amount of gas wrong.
Actually, just when I was looking at the map there, I noticed that there is a little road that goes in up that hill, up the valley, fairly close. I should be able to get within what looks like about two kilometers of it, and then half of the remaining distance seems to be cleared farmland, and then the other half is scrub like this. I don't know if I want to trudge through 1 kilometer of this. See? Not really. But anyway, I'm driving up this little road. It's quite a tight little twisty windy dirt road, but I'll see if I can get any signal from there, because I should be a lot closer then. Well, I've got to say, this is quite the road. Look at the slope of the hills that we're climbing up here. But it's quite a nice view over there. Let me just get out and show you the view. Wow. How about that? Man, what a great day. There's no wind. No wonder that balloon was coming straight down. Man, I can see for fucking miles.
Alright, now we are officially at the end of the road. There's private property for the rest of this road here, and I probably would still go in there. I mean, I don't think there's anyone around. It says something about getting shot, or your dogs will be shot. Pig hunters, your dogs will be shot, I think that says. But the decision's kind of already made for me, because there's a padlock on the gate, so I can't even open it. Plus, when I looked at the map, the areas of ground that I thought were sort of fairly low scrub actually match up with that kind of stuff there. When I actually come here and look at it on the map, and I'm looking at that kind of thing. So yeah, I just don't really want to go in there. There is a bit of cleared ground that would be easy to get over, but then there's at least a kilometre of that stuff to get through. So I think I'll just enjoy this view here a little bit more and then go home. That'll be it for today. It is a very nice view. Let's see if I can just not fall off the cliff. Yeah, I think it would be pretty hard going. Look at this stuff. This is what I would have to get through there, and it's very steep. Like, there's even some legitimate sort of cliffs around this place. Very steep. So it's no surprise that I'm not getting any signal. From this location, the relative vertical distance is -400, and the direction is just over there. So it's probably over behind that ridge, or maybe even the next ridge, and possibly even way down, like below, right at the bottom of a valley or something. So it's a pity that we won't be able to look at the data from the SD card, but I'm sure we can make some fairly interesting graphs with the numbers that are on the Android tablet, and that'll just have to do.
Here's a topographical map of that area. It's actually a lot hillier than it looks in the video. I think I was about here on the beginning of this white area, which is the cleared land, and the balloon fell round about here somewhere, and it was about 1 kilometre in from this part. So I would have had to walk from here. I wouldn't want to go through here, obviously, so I'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, last kilometre, and then back again through all that dense scrub. But more of a problem was this here. If we look at these elevation, what do you call them, contour lines, there's massive changes in height here. So it's 200 meters there, 300, 400, and yeah, it's just wasn't going to happen. If there was something really expensive on the payload, say if there was if there was 2 GoPros on the payload, I would have gone and tried to find it. But as it was, no, it's fine. Well, that's the end of the video that I recorded on the day, and while it was a little bit annoying to not have been able to recover the payload, I think as a first attempt it was pretty good. So I've listed up the things that went right and the things that went wrong, because there were actually a lot of things that could have gone wrong that didn't. So just to focus on the positives for a change. Didn't mess up tying the balloon, so it didn't slip out of my hands. It didn't get popped on the sharp corners of the zip ties or anything like that. It didn't fall off at any point. It reached a decent altitude. I think it would have been more annoying or disappointing if it only went up to, say, 3 kilometers and then fell down because of putting too much gas in. That would have been worse, I think. At least if it went all the way up to the high altitudes, we get the interesting numbers and the freezing cold temperatures and all that cool stuff. It went very close to the estimated direction, at least up until the 17 kilometer burst height that I entered into the calculator. The parachute worked. As far as we can tell, none of the wiring connections failed. The battery didn't fail. The GPS kept working up to the high altitude. All of the sensors seemed to be working. The enclosure was effective, as we'll see in the graphs later on. The cell module regained connection as it came down. There were only 3 messages that came in from it as it fell. So at 24 seconds between messages, that's less than 2 minutes that was actually connected again. But it did its job because I was not actually in range to use my NRF24 module to see where it fell at that very last point. So it didn't do much, but it did what it needed to do. The Android logging on the tablet all worked, so I have all of the files recorded, and the Yagi antenna was helpful, and we seem to be, oh geez, we're missing the most important, or worked doesn't really do it justice, does it? Kicked ass. Kicked ass, that's what it did. Yeah, I was very, very impressed, as you saw, with the range of the NRF24L01. Love those little things. What went wrong? Mainly this was the main single thing that went wrong. Needed more gas. The humidity value was reading a negative number. I'm pretty sure humidity doesn't work like that, so there must have been some issue there. And the heading value, which should have been reading a value in degrees for the direction that the balloon was moving, that was reading 0.1 or 0.2 all the time, so I'm not sure what I did wrong there, but yeah, small issue. Regarding the needing more gas, as you saw, I was using this calculator to figure out how much gas or how much neck lift, technically, that I should use, and this was my target altitude. So this gives me an ascent rate of 3.6 meters per second, and I'm pretty damn sure I did everything exactly how it should have been done. The stuff that I had on the bottom of the balloon before I started to tie it was about 290 grams, so it should have actually been slightly more than that. And if we put this 3.66 or 3.6, let's do it this way, because the other calculator that I'm going to show you in just a second, you can't put a target burst altitude. So target ascent rate of 3.6 meters per second is a neck lift of 272 grams and a burst altitude of 17.7 k. And if we use this other calculator, also with 3.6 meters target ascent rate, calculate, this is giving me an estimated burst altitude of 17.4 with a neck lift of 275. So both of these calculators giving me about the same thing. Down here though, notice this model tends to underestimate balloon burst altitude for small balloons by up to 3.5%. So even at looking at 3.5% more than what I got, both of these calculators are still pretty way off. So the question is whether this calculator was wrong, which I'm tending to lean towards, or whether I did something wrong. The only thing I could think that might have gone wrong is that some of the gas leaked out while I was trying to tie it up, but I'm pretty sure that didn't happen. Another thing I guess that might be going on here is that not many people use these smaller balloons, as far as I can tell. I haven't seen anybody using them in other YouTube videos. They all mostly seem to be using the larger balloons. In fact, if we see, it says here, the data for balloons with a asterisk designator has been back calculated from actual burst altitude data rather than the burst diameter quoted by the manufacturer. And if we look at which ones that is, it's all of these really large ones here. 1.6 kilogram and 2 and 3 kilogram balloons are the ones that people seem to be using more of. So I might give this guy my data, although I didn't actually get an exact height for my burst altitude, but who knows, maybe he's interested, we'll see. So what I learned from this that I'll do differently next time is I'm not going to use a cell phone module anymore. It just didn't really help that much, and considering the extra effort that needs to go into it, for example, you have to buy a SIM card and then you have to have a valid Vodafone account with credit on your prepay card and all that stuff. It's just not really worth it. Next time I would use 2 receiving devices, that is for the NRF24 connection, because I actually did have 2 Android things with me. I had my Android phone and my Android tablet, so if I had have set up another NRF24 to receive, I wouldn't have needed to swap over between the Yagi antenna and the little antenna, so I could have just had one stuck to my car windscreen full time with the small antenna just going non-stop, and then occasionally when I needed to I could have just used the other like my phone with the Yagi antenna just every now and then. Display time since last packet on tracking page refers to this page which shows the distance and the height, and early in the flight I was looking at this and watching to see it changed to detect that I was still receiving packets from the balloon, but that was actually not really a good way to do it, because I realized later, well I knew all the time but I just wasn't sort of thinking about it straight. As I'm driving along, these are going to be changing as well, because this is the relative distance between me and the balloon. So even if I wasn't receiving any packets from the balloon, this number would still be changing. So I was driving along for quite a while thinking everything was okay, but then I realized that the only reason it was changing is because the car was moving. And the height too, as the car goes up and down hills, this has changed. So you really need to have a number on here that says how long ago in seconds the last packet was received. Otherwise, well, you can flip over to the other page to see that, but it's just easier if everything would be on this one screen. So thanks for watching all that. Looks like we've ended up with another long video, so I'll cut it here, and in the next video we have a big old bunch of graphs to look at, because thanks to the outstanding work of the NRF24 modules, I would estimate we have probably more than 60% of the data that was actually captured on the ground by the Android tablet. So let's take a look at that next time.